All right. Well, welcome everybody to Module 2, which is the module on containment. This module goes on till approximately 12:05, and then we will break for lunch. I'll use the first 1 to 2 minutes because we have a few folks that have just joined us at the table in this war room. We also have some more folks that have joined in online as well. I am monitoring the online environment as well. Just a couple of three quick housekeeping items. The first is to all of the advisors that are participating. When you need to speak, obviously you can raise your hand, you can just jump in, but there is a request to speak button right in front of you. Just press that, your mic will turn on red, and then you can chime in. When you're done speaking, I'm gonna ask that you obviously switch off your mic. Number two, we are joined in this session by 3 industry experts from CrowdStrike, Sophos, and Abnormal. They have come into this scenario at this point, not necessarily knowing everything that has transpired thus far. They will be very, very critical in the next steps that we take, and I advise you all to ask them questions, and of course, invite you to chime in to get any background information as you require it. We have some other advisors on the table that are playing different roles. We have the Chief Risk Officer who has stepped in. We have support now for Vivek because the board is pretty pissed off. So we have another board member who decided to get on their private jet and get here to deal with the scenario hands-on. Good for you, Hugh. Welcome to the party. To the audience, again, when you have your questions, please feel free to raise your hands, and I'll do my best to weave it in. Again, you'll have to do the same thing. You'll have to unmute and ask. And to the folks that are watching online, same process there as well. Now, the last item, again, this is a fictitious scenario. It's not entirely real. We are dealing with a situation where siberX has declared an incident, and there's been an outage. Before I go to the media, and before I share with you what the media is documenting, I want to turn it over to Alex. Alex, if you can very, very quickly and begin by unmuting. So you spent a lot of time in the washroom during the break. I know this is a tense situation, but I'd like you, Alex, I have to fire shots at you. You got me in Calgary. We're 3-1. I think we're 4-1 now. But anyways, who's keeping score? Alex, if you can quickly summarize, where are we at right now?
All right. So we are moving into the containment module, which means that we have declared an incident. Now, if we look back, we've got some initial indicators that give us the confidence to actually say, yes, there is something. I was having a debate with Sabino on the workflow. And, in large companies, and, this isn't to say there's only one way to do things, but, in the ITSM world, IT looks at their problems and has a process or a trigger to escalate to security. And generally, there's a bit of a Chinese wall between those two teams. We were chasing an IT outage with the context that this digital transformation project has gone sideways for months and months. So, the team is getting used to the ups and downs of these interruptions. And that could actually be a bit of a bias, that they've blinded themselves from any other option beyond yet another, F-up of this project. Classic digital transformation gone sideways. We've alluded that the CEO may have sole-sourced this digital transformation project to his pal on the golf course. And that may have meant that we are not, siberX Mart is not getting the digital transformation solution that they want.
Fair enough, and yes, I think while we do laugh at it, the idea that this may have been sole sourced and some of the questions around the CEO's competency are certainly coming in. The police are here to arrest the CEO as well. As you can tell, this is all very well scripted. Again, to my advisors, I want to advise all of you, I want to advise my advisors, try to speak a little bit closer to the mic so that we can capture your sound perfectly. Well, they say declare fast and act faster. Hopefully, we will be faster and the fastest as we deal with the scenario at hand. Unfortunately, ODTN News has an update for us, and I'm going to draw your attention to the update from ODTN News.
Good afternoon. I'm Roshan Khan with ODTN News. What began as a localized outage in the Maritimes has now spread across the country. siberX says its teams are working to contain the disruption, but the problem continues to expand as more stores attempt to open nationwide. Some experts are already speculating that this could be part of a larger cyber incident. Store closures are now affecting shoppers in multiple provinces, with many rural communities forced to travel long distances for basic necessities. For smaller towns, the situation has moved beyond inconvenience. It is disrupting daily life. siberX released a brief statement today saying it's investigating an ongoing technical issue, but offered no details on what systems were affected or when operations might resume. Analysts warn that in the early hours of crisis like this, information can be incomplete and constantly changing. It is what cybersecurity experts call the fog of war. For more on how this could impact the company's leadership and financial outlook, we turn to ODTN business analyst Bill McFarlane.
Roshan, the timing couldn't be worse for siberX. The company's CEO was already under scrutiny for their digital transformation outsourcing strategy, which was racked by long delays and mounting costs. And next week, the company will have to face investors directly as it presents quarterly earnings. Investors have been watching closely as the company's modernization efforts have struggled to deliver returns. There's also growing evidence that the outage is impacting siberX's wholesale division, which supplies several commercial clients, including seniors' living facilities and hospitals. That only raises concerns about the scale of the disruption and falling investor confidence ahead of that earnings call. The market's going to be looking for transparency and a clear recovery plan. So far, neither has been offered publicly. The ODTN News team is continuing to dig in on this story. We're going to bring you more information and analysis as it comes in. Roshan?
Thank you, Bill. For now, siberX says restorations are ongoing, but with the store closures now spanning coast to coast, frustration is mounting, and pressure is growing on company leadership to show progress. I'm Roshan Khan. This is ODTN News. Please stay with us for more.
With that, I am aware that the SOC team is actively going through logs. We will come to you in about 5 minutes. Team CrowdStrike, Shelley, thank you for joining us on such short notice. Can I get your perspective right now on what's top of mind, from your industry expertise and from a CrowdStrike perspective? What do you want to hear from our SOC at this point? An incident has been declared. What's top of mind for you right now?
I think top of mind for me right now is understanding the connection, any possible entries into the organization, what sort of remote access is available, what sort of vendors are using remote access, is there multi-factor authentication in play, and what sort of logging or what sort of indicators so far have been collected to indicate what sort of activity might be going on and what has led to the declaration of the incident.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. SOC team, please take a whole note of that. I'd like to go next to Team Sophos. Thank you as well for jumping in. We value your partnership. From your perspective, anything to add on from what Shelley said, what would you like to see at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll echo everything that Shelley said, all good things. One of the things that stuck out to me just seeing that briefing is that we're seeing a cascading or an expanding of the incident as things are coming online. Again, going back, what are these artifacts or indicators of compromise that we have now? Is there some type of a persistence mechanism that's causing encryption or something to take endpoints down? Some type of a logic bomb? Like, we really need to start digging and understanding these things. Obviously, understanding that initial access point, but even to contain the spread of this, what is causing this cascading? At first, it was just the East Coast, and that's now gotten worse. Is there a correlation? Is there something that's causing that, or is that just a coincidence? We really should know that.
Thank you so much, and I agree. There's a lot of chaos over here. My therapist did advise me to embrace chaos, but I think I embraced a bit too much of it. Thank you for that, Team Sophos. And Nilesh from Abnormal, again, short notice, but you're here. We appreciate it. I know that, a lot of your focus sometimes tends to be around email security as well, but you've got vast experience above and beyond. Is there any other questions that are top of mind for you right now?
Yeah, I think one thing that was brought up was the communication internally and making sure that both internal teams are on the same page, right? Before this gets leaked out to the public, we want one line of communication that's getting sent out externally, but more importantly, we want to confirm that there's not a current insider threat. If there is internal communications that are compromised, these threat actors can also confuse our SOC team and confuse the intelligence that we're collecting. So we want to make sure that we are preserving the correct data and not incorrect data and falling in the hands of the threat actor, and also making sure that this is not becoming a more wider spread issue in terms of accounts. We want to make sure that these internal accounts are not compromised and any vendors that we're continuously dealing with, and this is not becoming a wider issue amongst the current vendors that we are in deals with right now.
All right, fantastic. I know, Shrey, just let me know when you folks are ready. I'll do a quick look around the table if anybody has any questions that are top of mind, but or maybe even in the audience, if there are any things that you would like to know in this session, now is a good time to let us know. And if not, and you feel like we've covered what we need to, I'm going to turn it over now to the SOC team, and if we can have your screen pop up, and perhaps while you do that, actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Shrey, I'm sorry, we have some guests that are joining us. So Shrey, I'll give it over to you to sort of walk us through what you're seeing right now, and then we'll take a moment to acknowledge the guests that have walked in. Shrey, over to you.
Absolutely, Ali. So currently the SOC team is performing the pattern analysis, and the board must be informed about the findings so far. From the research, the SOC team has discovered a pattern across all the affected regions. What we are seeing is not a random failure, it is a recurring sequence. You are seeing multiple cycles on screen at the moment, cycle 1, 2, 3, and 5 to be specific, which follows the same pattern. 3-phase progression, a sudden network traffic spike, an automatic update trigger, and a system-wide reboot. Now, before I hand it back, I'll just take 1 minute to explain these 3 individual components. Please. Phase 1, the traffic spike, where every single event begins with a sudden uptick in the network and the inbound and the outbound traffic, as high as 510%, something which you've never seen before. The concurrent connections are maxing out. The behavior does not match any planned load testing or backup routines. It's a cascading failure in a way. Phase number 2, the updates are being triggered at the same time. Within minutes of these spikes, we see the monitoring system indicates an update process initiated via MSP patch channel. Now this, having in particular fashion, is not random. It's a very particular sequence which I'm looking at right now. And lastly, with the phase 3, which goes along with the system reboot, where the system reboot messages in progress shows up across all the terminals. This is a very systematic failure. It's a systematic progression of the attack that I'm looking at on screen right now. I'll turn it over back to the board for their inputs and insights, because we definitely need some direction here as in what to do.
All right, I'm just going to ask everyone, Alex, at this point, I have a lot of questions, but can I give you the floor just for a minute to add on a little bit to what Shrey has just said? Thank you, Shrey.
Absolutely. So we are continuing to start pulling more information out of our logs. As mentioned, we do collect a lot of logs, and this does create challenges when we are trying to find those diamonds in the rough. So we keep on now correlating interesting spikes in traffic that we are seeing at those sites, all the retail sites. Additionally, as mentioned, we are seeing outages and lack of remote management capabilities to our ERP and inventory system. So IT is chasing after that right now. It does look to us that the traffic is coming from the trusted VPN connection between us and the managed service provider. We are going to look into that. I don't think we have much visibility there. We don't put a lot of our security controls at that because it is our trusted partner, and frankly, the costs were too high.
All right, I'm going to give you, there's a lot to take in here, but everybody keep calm, stay calm, think of pizza, maybe puppies, I don't know. But this is going to escalate very, very quickly, and I can tell you we have a very animated public information officer here who I don't know is necessarily on our side or the public side, but we'll figure out very, very shortly. In the room around you, as you can all see, and we'll take a moment just to break out of character just for a minute or two. As you can see around you in the room, we have some young individuals from high school that have joined us and have skipped school to be here. I lie. People are cheering you on, and their teachers are in the room. Don't skip school. But with that said, these individuals are participating on the 3rd floor in an engagement called Young Defenders of the North, where they're sifting through logs and trying to understand a supply chain attack in real time. I want to not only welcome you to this fantastic hall, and one fine day we hope that you'll be inside of here dealing with an incident in real time and guiding the future of Canadian security. But I thank you all for taking the time, but more importantly for the organizers for ensuring that this event was accessible to this demographic of young defenders of the North. Please join me once more in giving them a round of applause as they see themselves on camera. Thank you all, and I believe ISACA Vancouver has been instrumental in this as well. Thank you to, and different schools that have come together along with their teachers. Thank you so much. Please continue to stay for as long as you're allowed to, and when you do have to exit, please choose to exit a little quietly. Shrey, do we need to come back to your screen at this point? Is there anything else you want to add, or are there any questions that you're prepared to field at this point?
The SOC team is still working on it. I'll keep you posted. We definitely will provide the initial findings report by the end of this module.
All right, thank you very much. Shelly, if I can turn to you from a CrowdStrike perspective, what you've heard so far, anything that caught your attention?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, the fact that the traffic is coming sort of from the managed service provider, my initial concern was around what sort of access the managed service provider has into the environment, what sort of accounts, how are they monitored, and whether is it a site-to-site VPN? Do they have domain trusts? If there's something else in place, I want to understand sort of what that relationship looks like. Also, what kind of contracts are in place for that managed service provider? What sort of assessments that they need to have on their side to assure that they are secure for siberX Smart?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Team Sophos, any immediate thoughts? I'll come to you as well. Nilesh, any immediate thoughts before we have questions for the rest of the table? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd want to know from the SOC team and the technical team if any action had been taken yet on these things. Like, I think, Ali, you mentioned things are going to get worse, but we're starting to get more clarity, more information, and we need to start acting on that information swiftly. So I'd want to know, has that VPN been killed? What accounts, if any, were used over that VPN? Yeah, I think that would be like action number one for sure.
Yeah, and I would say that just hold on for the next question that comes your way. If you don't have answers, get your resumes ready. Nilesh, over to you.
Yeah, and I think I would echo what Shelley was mentioning is, although this is a trusted vendor at this stage, we no longer can trust them. I think we need to create some type of change process order and halt any other changes that are made to other applications. As we know that those malicious changes are being made, we definitely need to postpone any other changes to our further infrastructure. I'm hoping to see if we do even have a change process order in place. If not, maybe something to consider in the future. But we also want to mitigate this spreading to other applications. So what I would want to know from the SOC team is, do we have any mitigations in place to prevent this from any other misconfigurations? If there in fact is a active threat actor, are they loosening it up any other permissions in our other applications, especially if it's a service account? Do we know if it's being used against us? Do we need to know those types of account takeovers that are occurring?
If you're ready, go ahead.
Our immediate focus is containment, triaging this outage before this spreads further east and west. We want to make sure that things are properly in control at the moment. At this stage, we don't even know if the package was injected upstream by the MSP or it came from somewhere else, or if the credentials were abused internally or not. We're still looking out for that information, and I'll keep you posted as we have more. Next step for the SOC is primarily correlations of these failures with the MSP's deployment logs to trace the origin of this unauthorized update. Once I have the more information on this piece, I'll definitely keep the board updated on that.
Lock it down or watch it crown. We need to come closer and closer to containment, and I'm trying to give you a bit of breathing room, but I can tell you that there are more questions that are starting to come in, but we will come back to you. I know Alex is feverishly looking at the logs at this point. Sabino, very shortly my screen is going to pop up, and there's a lot of outcry. I can tell you from a timeline perspective right now, we are roughly at around the midday of day one. It's approximately 1 or 2 p.m. and when my screen shows up, you will see that there is quite a lot of concern in the world, in the Twitterverse at this point. I can read out some of the tweets for you as they come along. One of the tweets that has come in, if you bear me for a moment, this comes from Julie, and it will pop up very shortly, but I'll read it out for now. It says, gonna be a Karen for a second. Tell me why my local grocery store is down. My daughter has been screaming all morning for formula, and I don't even own a car. How am I supposed to do anything about this right now? What is going on? There's another tweet that reads, siberX Mart. This is a good one. siberX Mart, now proudly serving. Error 404, dinner not found. Hashtag cyber crisis looming. Public information officer, I saw you were feverishly going out on our Teams and Signals chat with all of your various plans. Please tell me why we pay you the big bucks.
You pay me the big bucks because what we say is a fiduciary instrument in a time of crisis. So that means that message control and information control become paramount to the health of the organization in the mid to long term. So what we want to do is we want to establish hierarchy of voice, 1, 2, 3, and 4 levels. Who can talk? Who needs whose approval to talk? What is allowed to be said? Who is this anonymous source that ODTN News is talking to? And what are they saying? How will what we say impact investors? We have an earnings call, partners, the market, our competitors, our suppliers. Everyone is waiting with bated breath to hear what it is we're going to say. So we better say the right thing the first time and not mess up our messaging. So the office of the PIO's job is to watch the chaos, and as soon as something forms that can be said confidently that serves us, we will say it publicly. And if it doesn't serve us, we'll hold it until we can make it serve us. And if it can't, then we escalate upwards into the appropriate tier 1 voices.
All right, good to see our public information officer is smiling at this time as well. Yeah. But there's a lot of concerns, but I appreciate your perspective. I know you've been in touch with the board. I'm going to give the SOC team, I know you've asked me for about 5 to 6 minutes, so we are going to come back to you. I want to get deeper into the containment strategies that we're taking. Sony, as our supply chain security specialist, if I can come to you, and Sabino, if I can ask you to unmute. Sony, if you can unmute your mic. There's some concern about the supply chain security side, and in the previous session we heard that some of our locations are not able to even do inventory properly at this point. I know this may not be a question directly at you, but from your experience, is there anything we need to be communicating to other stores that might be reliant on us? And is there anything we need to do to deal with these incidents where, one's being funny about it, but the other's saying that, their children now can't access important supplies? Is there anything we need to be doing at this point to ensure that our systems are secure, but also those people that depend on us have somewhere to go to?
So, from a supply chain perspective, but also from a comms perspective, I'm going to base it on my experience working at retail. Situations like this have happened in the past. Communication is critical, is absolutely critical, and getting communications out soon rather than later is paramount. We have to provide some assurances to our customers, especially in remote areas where they cannot get medicine, they cannot get baby food. So that is something where we need to work with them, and that would be the comms team and probably I would say the communications team at this point, working with what the message is for these customers. Again, that's out of my scope, but that's what I've seen done within our enterprise risk team when we had a similar situation with the atmospheric river. So on the supply chain side though, the areas I want to look at is, okay, you've got technical supply chain, but you've got business supply chain. So you've got inventory management systems which are giving bad data. All right, well, is this outsourced? Is this a third party? Is this a cloud, a SaaS provider that's providing these inventory services or inventory management services? The other thing is payment. We're talking about payment acquirers. Have they been contacted? The other area is the MSP. I want to look at business impact of cutting off communication, I'm talking about at the network level, with that MSP. Because what I'm hearing right now, if we look at the SOC, right, and I'm going to go a little bit technical here. If we go with the SOC and the information that you've given, I'm seeing 3 patterns here. Traffic spike, update. So there's a spike in traffic, and then there's an update. And then you said communication seems to be coming from the MSP. If we can cut off that communication with the MSP, have a system where we can image, just as a test, and we can image that with our gold standard and see if that doesn't cause an outage, maybe we're onto something here. Because we got to get our stores live. We got to get, we got to start selling grocery, right? Again, balance that with making sure the threat is does not come back. But this is kind of an area where I'm looking towards. So I've spoken a lot, but.
No, absolutely. Our SOC team has spoken very little, so over to them, and I'll ask you to unmute at this point. Sorry, to mute Sony at this point. Thank you so much.
So thanks, Sonny. We did, and again, the East Coast IT team, without direction from corporate, did do a flashing, and they did have the system come back up at a nominal state, but then get locked up.
Right, but that was before you discovered that this communication with the MSP is suspect.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So if we can sever that, as long as we understand business impact, if we can sever that and then try that again.
And that leads me to some other notes that, like, let's start talking about containment strategy here. And it's not just a technical thing. Certainly there is a technical piece to it. Like, how do we contain and limit the blast radius of affected hosts? So we do have a good understanding of impacted hosts at this point. All POS systems that are at stores that are open right now. Sun is rising. It's coming to the West Coast. We're going to get an update from the West Coast teams or stores as well. But there's also the non-technical piece, and certainly, Sonny, like, we have to recognize, do we cut the hard line, right? And there's plenty of cases where businesses may decide to continue operating. Think of an online casino. They may have a breach, but going offline means they lose all their customers that likely won't come back. So they may make a decision to keep things online and taking the risk that they'll pay the privacy violation or whatever the consequence may be there. But there's also some non-technical things. So communication you touched on, we want to understand, like, the internal communications to our staff, external communications to the public, potentially our customer bases and regulators. So we should have a little bit of a discussion on that. But also, how does a retail store close in an emergency basis? How do you deal with your staff? How do you deal with the food spoilage? That becomes a biohazard within days. So let's have a little bit of discussion, try to get some firm decisions on what we should do.
All right, I appreciate that. If there's anyone that wants to chime in, please feel free. I'll actually, Hanif, if I can bring you into the conversation at this point. And Hanif, as our digital transformation advisor, there's going to be a lot of questions that are coming your way in terms of the decisions that were made to go with this vendor, so on and so forth. One of the biggest criticisms that I'm seeing online right now is that we went completely digital, but have zero plans at this point on what do we do when payment system goes down. We're scattered, we're scrambling. We are seeing more people now line up at our stores. There's a risk of violence even breaking out. Was there no discussion, and this comes from the online space, was there no discussion for us to have a plan B or any of the other letters in the alphabet?
I think there was a discussion to have a plan B, but I think what we wanted to do was get stability to a point where we were able to use the new system with some level of confidence before we brought in a plan B. So I think we're probably a little bit late to the party, and in hindsight, we should have probably had a plan B and maybe even a plan C or a D or an E to get us to a point where we would be able to function if Plan A wasn't working. I think that in hindsight, that is definitely something in retrospective that we should have dealt with earlier than now when we're in a crisis.
Fair enough. And you know what I forgot to mention? The board didn't come just with one piece of reinforcement. They brought Anton as well, who in his former life was a CISO. So we have 3 board members at the table now, thanks to Vivek. Because obviously we threw a lot at him. Anton, from what you're hearing, I'm going to go back to the security team very shortly. Anything that's striking you as odd, or anything that needs urgent attention as we work towards containment?
Well, I understand that the MSP is just setting up the systems, and we don't want to throw more change onto them. So I would definitely start closing that VPN right now. And historically, you should know that the CEO urged us to stop doing firewall network access reviews during the implementation because we had to go online very fast. So all the approvals for all network changes were not on my table, and we didn't get an updated network plan. So my next step would be to isolate all the marts from the update system as well. So all our stores should not be talking to the central management systems anymore, especially since we know after reboot and re-imaging they work fine. So yeah, I'll go with let's cut off the network access to these systems, re-image the point of sale systems, and see if they keep working, and observe.
Okay.
I'll just add to that let's take one POS system offline entirely. We'll keep that for forensic purposes post-incident.
If I can ask, Nilesh, if I can come to you, is there anything that you would also, in addition to the actions being taken, that you would like to receive?
Just kind of piggybacking on the POS systems, it was maybe a question for the team. Do we have any backup systems that we can leverage, and maybe some ISP that we can locally contact? Obviously, in this case, we were, one of the issues that came up was maybe produce, things that are going bad. It may not be a bad idea to reach out to some partnerships, right? Although we are competitors from a business perspective, when it comes to a cyber incident, we're all on the same page. So it might be a good idea to maybe talk to some peers who might be locally, in the same area, and we could probably come to some type of partnership or agreement in this particular scenario. Just curious if that's come up.
Who would be the best person at the war room to reach out across the table to a competitor and look for support?
I'm actually going to ask our first Chief Risk Officer. What do you think?
We actually have one, and that's only me. The other one is the privacy one.
You are right.
There we go. Before we actually jump into that, I think we're missing key information here to understand the risk. We're containing, but we don't know what we're containing actually. Do we have the impact and scope of what is getting impacted? Do we know how many stores and where they're located? And just being new to this organization, is there any pharmacies in any of these impacted stores that may have a public safety impact when they're out? So that's the piece of information that we're missing at this point, or at least I'm missing to understand the risk. And from our Chief Financial Officer, we're going to have conversations with the board, and we will need to translate this into a business conversation. So we're going to need some numbers from them on the hourly impact of all the stores that are out. If there's any perishable items that will go bad, if they cannot have a workaround, then we need to understand that impact by a rough dollar amount to be able to communicate that. And there is also the lack of, now we have indications that our service provider is involved, but we don't know what options we have at this point. We don't know if there is an SLA. So if we can get our vendor management or legal team to start extracting the information from the contract and SLA on what is the escalation path, what is the expectation in terms of their response, then we'll know what is our plan B. If they're not responding within that time frame, then we're going to fire up our next phase of response. But at this point, we want to make sure that everything is documented. We know the impact, we know the scope, and all the decisions need to be based on evidence and not assumptions. So everything in one place, logged, and making sure that we're backing our statements by evidence. Any assumptions that we're making needs to be documented as not verified for preserving for the later phases. So that's the state we're in.
All right, fair enough. SOC team, I'm getting your messages as well. Do you have an update that you would like to share? There's been some questions, and thank you, young defenders. I know you're going back up, so good luck in your assignment. I know that there's been some privacy questions that have also come, Vivek. I think the board has some questions on that front, so I'll turn it over to Shrey first to dive deeper into the technicals, and then we'll go to Vivek on the privacy side. Shrey?
Thank you, Ali.
Do you need to share your screen at this point?
I do actually. If the
Okay.
AV team can please bring it up.
Yeah.
All right, we are now several hours into this phase, and while the infected POS clusters have been isolated, we want to share an update towards how the ERP systems are responding. As Alex mentioned earlier, the inventory backbone still remains offline. We are not getting and receiving any information. Last successful heartbeat was about at 8:11 PST. What you're looking at
Can
here...
you say that again, the last?
Last heartbeat. That means the last time when we heard from this POS terminal particular. That should be 0800 hours Pacific time. What you're looking here is the live ERP dashboard, and as you can see, nothing is improvising. The API errors are completely flagging things down. There are no transactional traffic being recorded as well either. The API error rate is holding steady. The central ERP returns is returning 500 errors over and over again and again. Median response times stay at about 1.2 seconds, which is exponentially higher than the baseline that we have set. Each timeout triggers automated retries, which in turn is again creating a feedback loop, suffocating the system, ingestion of logs, every single thing is happening. SOC is working side by side with infrastructure and the ERP team. We are trying to rebuild from the backups.
I'll pause you there. I know that you're trying to do a lot of things. I have other executives that have also joined in on the line, and I got a message, and I know you've said a lot, and this one is that you, Alex, is like, Alex, you've been here the longest. What the hell is an ERP? And what is this heartbeat that you talk about? Who's dead?
Well, an ERP is an arbitrary 3 letters that represents business applications. It does stand for Enterprise Resource Planner, but it can sort of mean different things depending on your industry. In this case, an ERP would be something that would tie in the inventory system, the web front end, probably CRM, and certainly interacting with the point of sales systems at the stores, but also could even be how products are displayed in the stores. ERPs can do a lot of different things. But it is typically the backbone of most businesses. So if that system is affected, that means that we have a catastrophic issue. Business can't operate. And remember, and actually, Leah, you mentioned you are asking about pharmacies. The Competition Bureau was going to strike down a merger that siberX Mart was going through with the merging with a distributor, a food distribution business. So they spun off their pharmacy business to focus on the retail of grocery, as well as the wholesale to caterers and senior living hospitals and things like that.
All right, there's more to unpack here, and again, if anybody has questions, I am open to weaving them in, so you can just raise your hand, or if you are on the live chat, you can drop it in the live chat, or if you find me on LinkedIn, you can drop it there as well. I'm going to look to Team Sophos, Robert, at this point, based on what you're seeing, and I'm going to ask the team to keep this screen on, because Shreya, I believe there's more that you want to share as well. Robert, based on what you've seen from a Sophos perspective, your thoughts?
Yeah, so prior to that last piece of information about the ERP, what I was thinking was to have some type of other parallel plan in place to get the endpoints, the point of sale systems online. Maybe there's dusty old computers in the back. Can we fall back to the previous, pre-digital transformation systems? I think that plan, it's always good to have things going in parallel, so that may still be something to discuss internally, think about. But with the ERP system down, there's a couple pieces of information that we can layer in with that. There's been changes to the entire system that have not been approved by the CISO's team, the firewall configuration. I think we need to export that config. We need to understand the exposure of the ERP system or systems, what the dependencies are. Is this a denial of service? Because, there is a denial of service happening here. Is that a configuration? Is it a self-imposed one, or is this a threat actor, again, trying to do another thing to cripple us, confuse us, or bring us to our knees? So things have really kicked off with that last bit of information. I still think, though, it is important to make sure that we're well resourced, that we do have teams working on these other parallel things that say, okay, well, that's not as important now, but we've got to still try to, if we can get standalone stores online, hobbling along, that's better than nothing. It's all about striking the right balance here and making sure that we have the right resources. So, yeah, this is that's what I would recommend. Is some serious focus on this ERP system and understanding where is that coming from.
All right. I know, Nilesh, you wanted to chime in from Abnormal, so we'll go to you, and then if I can have Vivek and Hugh, I know you had some questions for privacy. I'll ask you to go, and then we have a question from the audience. Or maybe I'll go you, question to the audience, and then the board to privacy. Go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick, and forgive me if this is repetitive, but you mentioned earlier you're rebooting the servers and so forth. Have we done a credential flush, MFA resets? Have we done that, making sure that any of those credentials aren't being reused by the threat actor? Just trying to regain that access. And secondly, again, have we outsourced any particular IR team, right? Because I know you're inundated with a lot of data. We might need to take a surgical approach and get someone with a lot more expertise in terms of finding that needle in the haystack with all the data that you guys are just flooded with.
Yeah, I'll give you a chance to answer. I'll take in two things. Shelley, there was a comment for you, and maybe you want to just very quickly, and then I'll go to the question. The question was, it's from a member of the executive team saying, do we know who we're being attacked to? Maybe if we sit still, they'll just get bored and they'll leave. Is there anything that we need to do from a threat intel perspective right now?
Yeah, great question. I think from, I'm going to say in general, adversaries don't necessarily get that bored when they've got something active going on. So they've got active, successful attack going on. They're going to stay in there and do what they can. So from a threat intel perspective, I think it's really important to bring in some experts. I think Nilesh makes a really good point is engaging outside experts like incident response team, threat intel experts that are able to come in and understand what's going on in your environment, as well as provide sort of background on anything sort of intel they have from a global perspective of what type of threat actors this might be, and what sort of TTPs, tactic techniques and procedures that those threat actors may be currently employing, as well as possibly what are those next steps that they might be interested in that we would need to be prepared for.
Thank you, Team CrowdStrike, Sophos, and Abnormal. The trifecta that you bring to the table is powerful, and hopefully you can help us through this situation. I'll ask you to unmute my friend in the audience. You had a question? Keep it short.
Yeah, quick question. Just for a major retailer, is there no staging or pre-production environment that is available for, because you go in through digital transformation, one of the first things to build is a staging or pre-prod, so those isolations cannot happen in different regions. You can just test it continuously in one spot.
VP of Engineering is looking at me like he's got something to say. I think, Hanif, it's about you, and he's questioning your hire. Let's go.
Well, due to some of the cost pressures,
here we go.
You know that engineering can build anything, we can fix anything, we can even unplug anything. It's just a question of scope, schedule, and cost. And so when you squeeze that cost, guess what happens? Scope and schedule take a hit. So
Trust.
I think that's where we find ourselves.
I agree. Jonathan and Hanif, when they walked into this company, had a full crop of hair. Look at what finance did to them. There's a question behind. I'll give you 30 seconds to ask your question, then we have to go to the privacy piece. Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, you guys said, the board said you have implemented a AI system into your POS systems for automatic face recognition payments. Just a sec, please. Lost my question. So sorry about that. So the question was, you're trying to look into the vendors as a possible threat vector. You also did 2,000, from past 6 months, you've been trying to upgrade your systems. Have you tried to look into contractors, building auditors, consultants, CD people?
Sure. We will come back. That's a good question. Thank you for bringing it up. We will come back to that question very shortly. Alex, if you can take a note. Shrey, I know you have updates as well. Advisors, Vivek and Hugh, we have Mandy who's joined us from our privacy team. Thank you for correcting me. Mandy, I wish you well because the board has questions.
Happy to answer them.
I have to say I'm not happy at this time. I think Vivek would agree. We were expecting better. We were assured that you would build in security and privacy by design in this new system. We have lost first move advantage for messaging. We pay this fellow over here a lot of money to manage this, and here we are in the position that we were not expecting to be in. And from the technical side, we have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry, but the ERP, is it down or not? Surely you've got somebody in a data center somewhere who can tell us that. We don't need to be looking at a remote monitor to find out whether the ERP is involved in this, because that's our bread and butter. So we're duly concerned. We would like to get clearer information. I'm sure, Vivek, you would agree. And I'll pass it to you.
Good questions. Mike? Okay. There we go. Good questions, Hugh. Not particularly at privacy, but my top three, I'll limit myself, really is, has law enforcement been engaged? Now that we're nationwide, people can't get food. I think there's going to be some people upset. We need to get some briefings going, so hopefully comms teams has a playbook for this, and this is happening, both at a federal level and a provincial level and a municipal level. The second item, there was a discussion I caught about, how do we communicate with our competition, the threat intel, reach out, Shelley mentioned. We have three groups I hope we're engaged with, because at the last board update, the CISO did mention, CCCS, Canadian Center for Cybersecurity, CCTX, Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange, and also RHISAC, Retail Health Information Sharing Analytics Center. So I'm trusting, there's been an appropriate level of anonymization and sharing with those groups, and we're getting feedback on if there's any hits or matches. And then the last one is, I got added to this WhatsApp group, and it appears to be, it appears to be our SOC people talking to each other, and I'm really concerned, one, I got added to it, and two, is that really our playbook to talk securely, given we're potentially under a cyber threat? So those are my three.
All right. So Mandy, if I can summarize for you, I've taken it all in. Even our executives are concerned with all of this, but also another top priority that's coming up is we have a loyalty program. And there's concern that some data there has also gone missing. We haven't talked about privacy until now. It's the end of day 2 or day 1 rather, and that's a problem. Yeah. Where were you, Mandy?
Yeah, Ali, thank you for your concerns. So with the loyalty and membership data, we have been working with the forensics teams to verify what type of information was exactly compromised, what kind of personal information was on those files, and also which system files have been compromised as well. So we're still waiting on that information with the forensics teams in terms of what exactly has been compromised, because what we don't want to do is move too quickly and disrupt the investigation. As you're aware, as a privacy perspective, we also have regulator notifications that we have to be mindful of. Right now, this looks like it's severe notification standard for the OPC, and it might involve provincial regulators as well. So those are the two aspects right now that, while we're not preparing notifications, we're certainly considering it and working on it and preparing them behind the scenes. And then we will deploy them as soon as we know that it's legally defensible with our legal teams as well. So right now, our core focus is working with the risk officer, ensuring that we're clearly documenting and creating a trail of evidence for our regulators. And then to answer your question about privacy by design, we actually did a workshop with the engineers and unfortunately, no one showed up. So
Yeah, because it wasn't raining in Vancouver, so Alex gave everybody the day off. And VP of Engineering, I've heard that when it doesn't rain in Vancouver, people don't show up to work. So there you go.
Or if it snows.
Oh, it snows. Well, Mandy, thank you. I appreciate you chiming in. Sabino, I know that the technical team has some responses. I'll give it to you very shortly. We have about 15 minutes to go. Sabino, my screen's going to pop up very shortly right now. This is becoming a little problematic now. On Reddit, for example, we have an organization called Help Us Make a Change, and they have started commenting, say, we partnered with siberX for food cards, and now they're deactivated. Is this a joke? Is people struggling funny? And I have to also add, I've received an email now from FIFA, and they're, this is really, really concerning to me. And the email reads, I need to raise this now before it gets, it's about FIFA rather, before it gets buried under recovery updates. The FIFA catering contract we signed last quarter includes a non-performance penalty clause tied to disruption of scheduled deliveries. Our wholesale division missed 2 scheduled shipments directly tied to the outage. That means we're already in a breach. And if deliveries don't resume, this contract could get terminated. They're saying it's not a PR problem, it's a financial and legal one, but I'm concerned we haven't sent out any communications. We can't keep pretending this is a routine IT hiccup. Thanks. This is a multi-million-dollar liability. Sabino.
As the Tier 1 voice, we've sent out an internal communication that no one is authorized to contact FIFA directly, nor our partners. All outbound communication now goes through legal and the PIO. We are not referencing FIFA or any other specific contract because contracts themselves are confidential, so we will not speak publicly about any particular customer of ours. Legal and the CFO will lead the notice mitigation and documentation towards any named accounts, and the PIO will prepare market-facing aligned communication to support our executive communication. Our containment posture publicly remains unchanged. We're investigating, we're validating, and hourly updates will continue to be published at this link here. And all communications regarding our business will exclude dollar figures, will exclude time of contract length or engagement. They will exclude talk about penalties. We will not communicate that out to the world. We are addressing this incident now as a single incident that reaches across operational, cyber, financial, IT, and contractual dimensions. All hands on deck. The next update will be at 1 p.m. Thank you for maintaining precision and discipline during this very stressful time.
Noted, and I'm going to say some other items that have started to come in. This has escalated pretty quickly. Hoping all of you brought snacks because, Mandy, it's back to you. Couple of folks online have asked, hey, didn't Alex talk about this fancy AI face recognition system? One of our concerns is, would any biometric data be something we need to be concerned about at this point? And why was it not raised?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's a good question for the forensics teams to see if that biometrics data was compromised or if there was even hosted on any of our systems as well. So we do need to investigate that before I can comment on that. And to go back to the contractual comments made earlier, have we looked at the brief notification clauses and our commitment to our FIFA partners as well as vendors for what's required in terms of how we're notifying them and working with them? Often we need to work with that, so I'll defer to our risk officer or legal team for that.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for that. And we have about 8 minutes to go. I know that the SOC team has a couple of answers to provide, and that I believe you have an update to share as well. So I'm going to pass it over back to Shrey and Alex. Whoever wants to go first, please unmute.
Perfect. I have a couple of answers for the industry experts. They raised a couple of concerns regarding the implementation of the existing systems. What can we do next? Starting with number one, If we move back to the legacy systems which were supposed to be in place, we will have severe lack of visibility. We won't have any logs in that way. We can potentially explore that area. However, considering how the team is overstretched already, trying to figure out issues over here, trying to figure out and bring things back up, I don't recommend that option right away. Number two, we are looking at crippleware kind of IOCs in a very strong direction. There are certain spider tactics, but we'll definitely, I don't want to use extra words over here, but I'll bring up some proof for that too.
You've used a term now and again. Our executives, whose middle names is confused, are like, why did you mention spiders? And I know we put that question of threat intel to Shelley as well.
Right.
Why did you mention spiders?
Well, Shelley explicitly asked for the TTPs and stuff. There were a couple of indicators over here considering the spider tactics, and we wanted to make sure that we have proof of that before we start spitting out words on it. I'll definitely bring out some solid proof behind it, but based upon my analysis so far, I've seen spider tactics, and this case resembles very much similar to that one.
Are you saying there's an insect infestation?
I really wish it was an insect and pesticides could, resolve this issue, but unfortunately not.
All right, so Alex, can I ask you a very direct question? And this is also coming directly to me. From a TTP standpoint, are you attributing this to a particular type of attacker? Is there anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump in. Our threat intel provider has given a bulletin that we just pulled up. Do we have the visual for that one?
I don't think it's come to me at this point, but it may come to me very shortly. I will order it and we'll bring it in the eradications phase. But if you want to talk to it, we can bring it up next round.
Certainly. So it does look like that there is a threat actor out there called Scattered Spider. They specialize in social engineering help desks, resetting credentials, gaining administrative access, and then having a great time. It does look like they have just updated. Scattered Spider's been around for a few years now. They have updated that most recently, and Scattered Spider does hop from industry to industry. Their current campaign is against managed service providers.
All right, we've taken this name, Scattered Spider. We'll come back to it. I think now that the board has heard this, Vivek has something to add, and he's folded his hands, praying to all the gods that he knows. Go for it, Vivek.
I'm extremely frustrated. There's a lot of focus on attribution, which, great. There's discussions about privacy. We haven't even have any clue of a data exfiltration. You guys are wasting time. We need to focus on getting a store up and getting the food out. How are we going to isolate stores, get something working somewhere? This is nationwide now. I think we need to postpone and park, and we need some leadership to put some things on hold. We're distracting our teams. All hands should be on getting a clean store up and isolated.
Listen, Vivek, I appreciate all of that, and I appreciate you saying this, but I think maybe once in a while the board should deal with our fancy CEO, who, while all of this was going on, reminded me that they had given a report to the media, and my screen will pop up very shortly. Just so everyone knows, if you can follow along also, we do have a fictitious site called ODTN.news, and in that you'll see that there is a news article that was shared. It'll pop up very shortly on the screen as well. I can see that we can still see the FIFA email. It should pop up any moment, but on ODTN.news, we had a situation where our CEO some time ago had given a report to the media and basically said our trust in third-party defenses is unshaken, and essentially said that this is a time for smart delegation. We have to make sure that we are working with all of our partners in real time, and she has expressed deep support for our third-party vendors, and at this point of time, we have no communication, even in great detail, from our third-party vendor. This situation, as you can see it on the screen, we had warned against this communication going out. The CEO overpowered the comms team, and it happened. And at this point, Alex, I think it's fair to say my brain has filed for divorce from my body because this was something we warned. that this should not have gone out, and at this point, it's popping up on social media, it's popping up on the news. We're in a very difficult situation. Alex, if you can take some time now, just a minute or two, to summarize where our containment efforts are at, where are we being challenged, and then I'll bring this session to a conclusion.
Great. All right. Well, where are we at right now? We're at the end of the containment stage of incident response. Now, that sounds pretty linear, and incidents are seldom linear and seldom easy. So I want to mention, Rob had mentioned, we need to be doing things in parallel. And around this war room, we are pretty much having a linear conversation, but in reality, we would be starting to trigger and delegate certain tasks, such as doing more forensics on the endpoints, the impacted point of sales, the ERP systems, all dependencies around that, as well as just hunting around and making sure that the scope we think we know is the scope that we need to know. Also, reaching out to regulators, external communications, those would all be parallel tasks that we're going to be dealing with. And it was also mentioned, making sure that we understand what our contractors have been doing, particularly in a situation like this where you have a third-party managed service provider that we have a broad trust with a VPN connection between their data center and ours. We likely would be containing that, cutting that off. At this point, it's not providing much service to us. So we'd be cutting that off and trying to reduce the complexity of the challenge and trying to understand some root causes. Now, Nalish, you brought up, do we have an IR retainer? Should we be escalating? And I would say yes, but the CEO didn't understand what we paid for last time, and we never used it, and he cut the funding on it. So we do not have a retainer at current time. We'll be leveraging our security teams internally. And last but not least is, to Vivek's point, is what is the priority here? Now, in a real scenario like this, we are running around with our heads cut off. Even with the 100-page incident response plan that made us feel really warm and fuzzy when it wasn't an incident, pulling that document out now is actually a huge time suck, creating analysis paralysis. We have, the thought leaders of the company around this table who all have their own incentives and own priorities that we are having to, decide what way we go. And point of order discussion is war rooms are seldom this cordial.
Fair enough.
It's usually a lot more words that start with F. And, right now we have to start discussing what are those priorities and delegating those tasks so that we can start focusing on what matters most, and that is bring the business back online. Over to you.
Well, thanks to your guidance, the CEO has responded back and said, I don't give a fuck.
That guy.
Hold the line, contain, don't explain. And going off what she had said earlier about pivoting, that's her parting message for all of you today as we move into the third module. Before I do that and welcome you to enjoy some lunch, 3 housekeeping items again. Number 1, for those watching online, thank you. And thank you to all of the advisors and the industry experts for participating. But if you're watching online or following in from here, there's a poll that's about to be released. Please do participate in that poll. Number 2, if you want to practice this scenario, Immersive Labs has created a couple of labs that you can use to practice this specific incident. The code for that labs will be shared in the online environment. And number 3, we will begin after lunch at approximately 1:05, 1:10 p.m. But before I do that, siberX team will guide you, depending on the type of tickets that you have, on where you need to go to grab your lunch. And I'll read it from their site directly. When it comes to this lunch, they have a message for you. Although siberX Mart cannot serve you lunch at this point, Operation Defend the North has got you covered. See you in 1 hour. Take care. Good job, sir.